But clearly they've lost control of the streets. Now, is it time to send in the army at some point? Probably yes. But if the army will not be sent in, then the public will have to go in, and the public will have to sort this out themselves. And it'll be very, very brutal. I don't want them to live here. I don't want them here. They came under false pretenses. Many of them came illegally and continue to come illegally, and we don't want them here. And I'm perfectly willing to say that because it needs to be said. If I hated Australia, hated the Australian people, hated Australian history, hated the Australian way of life, broke into the country illegally and spent my time trying to undermine Australia, why should I be in Australia? Why? What would I have brought the country? What benefit? What moral benefit? What financial benefit? What social benefit? The answer is, you'd have brought no benefit. So why just hope that those people are not in large enough numbers and keep your fingers crossed and put it off for another day? I think we have to start saying very clearly, if you don't like it here, go. And if you don't like it here and you intend to make it worse, we will make you go. We stripped citizenship from ISIS members of ISIS who, even if they had British citizenship, we stripped their passports. We need to start doing the same thing with Hamas. We have Hamas leaders in the UK, Hamas members in the UK. I'm calling on the Foreign Secretary, the Home Secretary, the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Attorney General, Prime Minister and others to start doing this, to start taking the passports away and deporting people who support Hamas in the UK.
Is there the willpower to listen?
I think that as the situation is changing, actually, I think there are things now able to be discussed and suggested which were not able to be suggested or discussed even a few years ago.
So the Prime Minister tonight reacting to what has happened over the course of the last 48 hours. His conclusion, very simple, it's all the far right, as if they're causing all of the problems. No, the far right are a reaction to fear, to discomfort, to unease that is out there shared by tens of millions of people. Let me be clear. I don't support street violence. I don't support thuggery in any way at all. But I'm worried not just about the events in Southport, but about societal decline that is happening in our country. Law and order, folks, on our streets is breaking down. This Prime Minister hasn't got an earthly clue how to deal with it. We need to start getting tough. We need to use stop and search, regardless of the colour of the skin of anyone that gets stopped. We need tougher prison sentences for anybody carrying a knife. We need folks to get real. Because I tell you what you've seen on the streets of Hartlepool, of London, of Southport is nothing to what could happen over the course of the next few weeks. Let's have proper law and order. But Mr. Starmer, just to blame a few far-right thugs to say that's the root of our problems doesn't work.
I had a Cobra meeting this morning, which was an opportunity that I took to thank the police for their work over the last few days, to express my support for the police officers who have been injured and the communities impacted by this mindless thuggery. There are a number of actions that came out of the meeting. The first is we will have a standing army of specialist officers, public duty officers, so that we'll have enough officers to deal with this where we need them. The second is we'll ramp up criminal justice. There have already been hundreds of arrests. Some have appeared in court this morning. I've asked for early consideration of the earliest naming and identification of those involved in the process who will feel the full force of the law. And thirdly, I've been absolutely clear that the criminal law applies online as well as offline, and I'm assured that that's the approach that is being taken. Whatever the apparent motivation, this is not protest, it is pure violence, and we will not tolerate attacks on mosques or our Muslim communities. So the full force of the law will be visited on all those who are identified as having taken part in these activities.
All three influential figures argued that Starmer lacks a clear vision for the country, pointing to what they see as his inability to unite his party or effectively challenge the Conservative government. Farage and Murray highlight concerns about Starmer's stances on national security, immigration and Brexit, arguing that his approach undermines British sovereignty and fails to address the concerns of ordinary people often. Such collective and high-level criticism can have a significant impact, especially influencing public opinion. The involvement of figures like Musk, who has a large social media following, could amplify the message and reach a wider audience, both in the UK and internationally. It could also provoke a strong reaction from Starmer's supporters, who are likely to defend his record and leadership style. The combination of these criticisms could cause Starmer to become out of touch with the needs and concerns of a significant portion of the electorate, potentially damaging his leadership position within the party themselves and among the general public. Elon Musk confronts British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, a heated conflict over Musk's comments and actions on social networks. Musk's comments about an inevitable civil war in Britain, which he posted in response to riots and unrest, were widely criticized. The comments were considered deeply irresponsible by British officials, who said such statements could incite violence and further destabilize the situation. The unrest was partly fueled by misinformation spread on Musk's social media platform X, formerly Twitter. False reporting about the identity of a suspect in a violent incident has led to widespread riots and attacks, targeting Muslim communities and asylum seekers. The spread of such misinformation has raised significant concerns about the role of social media in inciting violence and division.
The time's 20 to 3, 14:40, and arresting you on suspicion of improper use of the electronic communications network.
What?
127 Communications Act, okay? So you do not have to say anything that may harm the defence if you don't mention one question subject to later on in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence. Do you understand that?
So I'm actually being arrested?
You're going to be arrested, okay?
Right.
So you go to the police station.
Right.
Okay, this is in relation to some comments that you've made on the Facebook page. Okay.
Oh, really? Oh, it's a Facebook crime, is it?
Okay.
Right.
So we need to ask you some questions about that.
Right.
Have you got anything in your pockets?
I've got my keys. No, that's about it, I think. Keys.
So, anyone who's been arrested, we can search them under Section 32 of the Police and Emergency Act.
Right.
That's dangerous items.
You said I was going to be arrested under some what? Information? I'm going to be arrested for posting on Facebook.
Some comments that are offensive, obscene, and people have made a complaint about that, and it's
can you tell me what this comment was?
Okay, well we'll do that when we interview.
All right. And so, what am I going to be locked up for the night, or?
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
The video can be seen saying British police said, "You have made some offensive comments on Facebook, and we are here to arrest you." After 3 young girls were brutally murdered, words were the crime the police focused on. This kind of shit is why Elon Musk believes civil war is inevitable. The British government, under the leadership of Prime Minister Starmer, is working on tougher laws to hold social media companies accountable for spreading misinformation. This includes the long-debated Online Harms Bill, which aims to tackle the real-world consequences of online misinformation. The government emphasized the need for social media platforms to be responsible for the content they host and to cooperate with the government to ensure public safety and security. Starmer pointed to the role of social media in fueling the recent riots, stressing that misinformation and false narratives have led to significant public violence and disorder. He called for a collaborative approach between the government and technology companies to address these issues and prevent similar incidents in the future.
I'm just here to report. I don't stand for any racism in any shape, form, or way.
Birmingham, England, August 5. Armed Muslim patrol members surrounded and attacked a pub after marching around the area looking for white right-wingers to attack. The rumored far-right demonstration never materialized. Muslim rioters attacked journalists and slashed the Sky News team's car. West Midlands Police said it had a carefully prepared plan to deal with the right-wing protests. However, they did not appear before the group of about 300 Muslims campaigning for direct action.
Whatever the apparent motivation, this is not protest. It is pure violence, and we will not tolerate attacks on mosques or our Muslim communities. So the full force of the law will be visited on all those who are identified as having taken part in these activities.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has firmly stated that violence against mosques and Muslim communities will not be tolerated. This follows recent far-right riots and attacks fueled by misinformation on social media. The UK government has committed to using the full force of the law to tackle such incidents and ensure the safety of all communities. Starmer emphasized that any incitement of violence, whether online or offline, will result in arrest, charges, and prosecution. The government is working closely with social media companies to address the spread of harmful misinformation and hate speech that has contributed to the unrest.
We've had an update from social media. Elon Musk criticising the video released by somebody being arrested of the UK police, informing them that they had been arrested due to what they'd posted on social media. Elon Musk on X, the billionaire owner of the platform, saying, "Is this Britain or the Soviet Union?" The Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, has made numerous references to the fact that inciting violence from social media, i.e. online, is just as much a criminal act as making the violence itself on the streets. So the UK justice system does see them similarly. It's illegal to do what that person is accused of doing, which is inciting violence or inciting riots on the streets, going back to laws created in the 1980s. So there is a law passing through the UK House of Commons, which should mean that there will be a specific law that requires social media companies to take down misinformation, false information intended to cause non-trivial harm, but that's not in place just yet. But it is interesting, the Prime Minister of a sovereign nation engaged in a war of words with a billionaire tech owner. The emphasis the Prime Minister here says should be on people calling for calm, calling on people not to participate in the violence, and certainly not stoking debate on social media that could lead to people to continue for what could be an 8th night of rioting here in the United Kingdom. But Elon Musk seems to have made this one of his prime interests for the last few days, engaging with the British criminal justice system in ways that he believes it should be run.
Mm-hmm. The Cobra meeting was to coordinate our response to the disorder, and I made it very clear on a number of occasions that those involved will feel the full force of the law. So we coordinated, we went through some of the numbers. Over 400 people now have been arrested, 100 have been charged, some in relation to online activity, and a number of them are already in court. And I'm now expecting substantive sentencing before the end of this week. That should send a very powerful message to anybody involved, either directly or online, that you are likely to be dealt with within a week, and that nobody should be involving themselves in this disorder.
It's laughable that the Prime Minister running the UK should be maintaining security and law enforcement to protect vulnerable communities. However, Keir Starmer got into an argument on social networks with a billionaire because of comments he considered inappropriate. This is the 6th time since October that Elon Musk, founder of Tesla and SpaceX, has claimed that civil war is imminent in Europe. On Monday, Downing Street reiterated that social media companies can and should be doing more to counter misleading or dangerous material on their platforms, emphasizing their responsibility for user safety. Musk's remarks drew criticism from across the political spectrum. Tim Montgomery called them extraordinarily irresponsible, while Michael Stevens argued that political understanding is crucial, stating, "Civil war is absolutely not inevitable." Armando Iannucci criticized Musk's platform for amplifying noise over facts. Lawrence Fox, echoing inflammatory sentiments, labeled Prime Minister Starmer a traitor, siding with immigrant barbarians.